This is homework set 5, linear equations, questions 1 through 8. Let's see what we can do about solving this equation here. We've got 5 times the quantity a plus 3 equals negative 20, and we want to find the value of a that when we add 3 to it and multiply by 5, we're going to end up with negative 20. Let's start by eliminating this set of parentheses. So let's use the distributive property and distribute that 5. So we'll get 5a plus 5 times 3 is 15. That's equal to negative 20. Now I'm trying to solve this for a, so I want to undo what has been done to a. Now look what's been done to it. It's been multiplied by 5, and then we added 15. Now to undo it, we'll just do the reverse. So first of all, I multiplied by 5, then I added 15. So to undo, let's subtract 15. So the plan is now to subtract 15. Now, I'll write it all out. It'll look like this. 5a plus 15, subtract 15. But if I subtract that 15, I have to subtract it from both sides. Now, this part here is just a 0. So I'm going to get 5a equals, now, negative 20 minus 15 is negative 35. Now, one more step here. I see a has been multiplied by 5, so I'm going to undo that multiplication. I'm going to divide by a. No, I'm not. I'm going to actually divide by 5. Look like this. 5a over 5 divided by 5 equals negative 35 divided by 5. Now, 5 divided into 5 is 1, so I'll just write a is equal to negative 35 divided by 5 is negative 7. Now, I'm just stating that a is negative 7. To be sure, I need to prove this. So to prove that, we're going to write a check. Now, I'll check this first problem, but the following ones I won't. Now, here's how I think we should write a check. I'm going to start out by saying this. If a equals negative 7, then, all right, now I'm going to put this value of a, that negative 7, back up here into the original equation. I have to go back to the original, so I haven't made any errors at the original yet. So put that a back in here. It'll look like this. 5 times, now a is negative 7, so substitute there, plus 3. Now I'm going to write a question mark over this because I don't know for sure. Is that equal to negative 20? Well, I've got a parentheses. I can work inside that, so I'll get 5. Now negative 7 plus 3 is negative 4. Is that equal to negative 20? And I'll keep going until I get both sides the same or different. Now on the left, 5 times negative 4 is negative 20 equals negative 20, check. All right, so all is good. So now I'm going to actually claim that a is negative 7. So back over here, this was a little bit preliminary, right? I don't really know that. I don't know for sure until I prove it to me and you that a is negative 7. Question 2, let's solve this equation. Pretty much like question 1. I'm going to start by distributing this 2 out here. So I need to eliminate these parentheses. So let's distribute that 2. So I'll multiply here, then I'll multiply here. So this will give us, now, first up is 2 times 2t. Well, that's 4t. And then plus, right, I got a plus, 2 times 2. So I'll write it all out. Plus, well, 2 times 2 is 4, equals negative 8. Nothing to do on that right side. Now, let's see what we've done here. I want to solve for t. So what have I done to t? And then I'll undo it. So here's what we did. By the order of operations, I multiplied, and then I added. All right, so let's undo in the reverse order. I'll undo the addition with a subtraction. So my plan is this. I'm going to subtract 4. It'll look like this. 4t plus 4 minus 4 equals negative 8 minus 4, right? Subtract that 4 from both sides. Now this part here is just 0. So I'm going to get 4t equals negative 8 minus 4 is negative 12. And now I can see that that t has been multiplied by 4. So undo the multiplication with a division. So I'm going to divide by 4. It'll look like this. 4t over 4 equals negative 12 over 4. Now 4 into 4 is 1, so I'll just get t equals negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. Now I should check it. I won't this time, but let's just kind of do it in our heads. What happens if you put negative 3 back here? Can we just do it in our heads? 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. We've got it. Question 3. This looks pretty much like questions 1 and 2, except the constant is on the left side now instead of the right side. But it doesn't matter. What I'm going to do is just what I did before. I'm going to solve for t. So how am I going to do this? I'm going to eliminate this set of parentheses. I'm going to multiply through by 2. Now, that's one thing I could do. Or, do you see this? Couldn't you divide both sides by 2? I mean, this is 2 times this. I could undo the multiplication with the division. I could do that. I could divide both sides by 2. Now, I'm not going to do it in this case because it doesn't always work so easily. If this was a 3, 3 does not go nicely into 10. So I'm just going to eliminate the parentheses. So let's do that. I'll multiply through. So let's do it. 2 times 4t, so I'll write 10 equals 2 times 4t is 8t, and then plus 2 times 1 is 2. Now, I want to solve for t, so what has been done to the t, and whatever's been done to it, I'll undo it. So the t has been multiplied by 8, and then 2 was added. So to undo that, let's subtract 2. So I'm going to say what I'm going to do so you can see it. Subtract 2. It'll look like this. 10 equals, wait a minute. I am subtracting 2, so I'm going to get 10 minus 2 equals 8t plus 2 minus 2. Right? Subtract that 2 from both sides. So on the left side, 10 minus 2, that's an 8, equals 8t. Now this part here is 0, so I'll just drop that. Now, t is being multiplied by 8, so I'm going to divide by 8. It'll look like this. 8 over 8 equals 8t over 8. Well, that's a 1. That's a 1. So I'll get a 1 here. Equals, that's a 1, that's 1. I'll get just t is equal to 1. I think that is the solution. Let's just run a quick check. I'm going to do it in my head. I'm not going to actually write it all out. So if I put 1, take this 1, put it in here, what do I get? 4 times 1 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. 5 times 2 is 10. I think I've got it. Question 4, let's solve this equation for y. Now, I've got 0 on the left side. I'm going to multiply through this set of parentheses to eliminate it by negative 2. So I'm going to write 0 equals now negative 2 times 4 is negative 8, so I'll get negative 8y, and then negative 2 times negative 8, positive 16. So what have we done here? That y I want by itself, so what have I done to it? I've multiplied it by negative 8, and then I added 16 by the order of operations. Now undo what we just did. Use the order of operations in reverse. So first of all, I'll get rid of that 16. I mean, I multiplied by negative 8, then I added 16. So to undo, let's subtract 16. I'll say what I'm going to do. I'm going to subtract 16. It'll look like this. 0 minus 16 equals negative 8y plus 16 minus 16. All I've done is I've subtracted 16 from both sides. I subtracted it from here. There it is. And then from here. There it is right there. Now, 0 minus 16, negative 16, equals, this part is 0, that's why we did it to eliminate it, negative 8y. And now I've got that y being multiplied by negative 8. Let's undo it. I'm going to divide by negative 8. So if I do that, I'll get negative 16 over negative 8 equals negative 8y over negative 8. And on the left side, here, that negative 16 divided by negative 8 is negative 2 equals, over here, those divide out, and I just get y. So y is equal to negative 2. Now you can write it like this. That's perfectly fine. 2 is y, or y is negative 2. Either one works. Question 5, we've got a fraction. Now, what I've been doing is this. I've been multiplying through like this. All right, I eliminated the parentheses by making the multiplication. This time I'm not going to do that. If I see a fraction, I don't really like to work with fractions a whole lot, so I'm going to eliminate them. So my idea is that I'm going to do this. I'm going to eliminate, well, that's not writing too well. I'll do it over here. Here's my idea. I'm going to eliminate the fraction. And what I do is I multiply by what's called the LCD, the least common denominator. Now look at these fractions here. I've only got one. So what's the smallest denominator you see? It's a 3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by 3. So multiply both sides by 3. Here's what it looks like. 1 times 3 equals 3 times 1/3 times that 6a plus 3. Right? Do you see what I've done? The denominator is 3. So I'm going to multiply 3 over here and 3 over here. Right? Multiply the left side by 3, the right side by 3. Now on the left side, 1 times 3 is 3 equals on the right side, what is 3 times 1/3? Or what is 1/3 of 3? Do it this way. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 divided by 3 is 3. So 3 into 3 is just once. So I just get a 1 here. So 6a plus 3. But 1 times 6a plus 3, so I'll get 3 equals just 6a plus 3. All right, now we're close. I'm going to subtract 3, so I'll write down what I'm going to do so you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to subtract 3. All right, if I do that, subtract 3. Now I'm just going to go ahead and do it, right? Let's just go ahead and do it. On the left side, 3 minus 3 is 0. All right, so I'll get a 0 over here. Equals, subtract 3 on the right side. So if I subtract 3 over here, 3 minus 3 is gone. So I'll just get 6a. And now what I'm going to do is one of two things. I can look at this two ways. What I could do is a is being multiplied by 6. So what I could do is divide by 6. I could divide by 6, getting 0 over 6 equals 6a over 6. Now, 0 divided by non-zero is 0 equals a. All right, so there's one way to do this. Works perfectly fine. Another way is think about this. If you multiply two numbers together and you get 0, right, here's what I'm saying. I'll do it in letters. If I multiply two numbers together and I get 0, 1, okay, actually, let me say this. At least one has to be 0, right? One of these has to be 0. You multiply two numbers together, this times this, and you get 0. One of them, maybe both, but at least one has to be 0. So down here, if I multiply these two numbers and I multiply them and I get 0, one of them has to be 0. Well, it's not the 6, it's got to be the a. So right away, I can see that a has to be 0. That's called using the zero factor property. The zero factor property. We're going to use that later.